Hello! Since I had to take a week off, I definitely don't remember what we were doing. I assume I already went in this cave, right? Let's see. I also, this is so sad, I drank my last monster yesterday. The last monster I owned no longer exists in the world. I consumed it. Is this stupid? Should I go back in just to see if I've been in here before? I guess we're gonna do it. Literally none of this is familiar, I'm gonna be honest. What? How is none of this familiar? Wait, have I done? Wait, so I think I did this though. So what? Where the heck do I go now? Cause I've now done both of them, right? Both the violin player and the lyre player. Cause the lyre player was the little seed dude. A monster care package always. Is there game sound? Oh, is there not? There should be. It might not. A lot of my settings got weird when since I had to take apart my computer and take it somewhere else for a bit. A lot of my sound probably got. Whoa! Why does it say no properties available? Oh fuck! I wonder if all of my OBS plugins got cleared. Oh fuck! I think that's what happened! No! All my OBS plugins got cleared when I had to uninstall OBS and reinstall it. Oh no! Okay, this is gonna be real scuffed. All of the alerts? Oh no! What should I do? Okay. Oh fuck. If I switch it to just my desktop sound, everything is gonna go off like twice. Like any alerts, you're gonna hear them twice. Oh, this is gonna be rough. This is so sad. Desktop audio. Oh, this is so sad. Wait, I don't even have the option! Oh my god. Oh god, what should I do? I need my plugins back! Rest in peace, Audica. I always liked you. Well, it wouldn't be a Crafty Konami stream without lots of scuff. Oh fuck. Sorry. Yeah, the source that I just tried to add to get my desktop audio just added a second mic, but I don't have a desktop audio option. Oh my god! I need my plugins back! I think I'm gonna have to restart stream. Oh, this is so sad. My first name back is like this. I can't say I'm surprised. It was inevitable! Let me switch to here. Wow, I'm so big. But this is probably going to be, it's probably lagging really bad right now. Pay no mind to it. Let me pause the game. Maybe that'll help. Because I had to open Chrome. But this is probably going to be my last stream with this model. I have not fully finished my new model, but I think that it'll be ready enough to use on Tuesday. I think I'll have time between now and then to redo it for Tuesday. I'm very excited. This is gonna be hard to remember the name of the plugins that I used to use. I can't believe I have to refind them again! You thought for a second your new model came around? Wait, what do you mean? Also, what's up, Moose? And King, obviously. Oh god, what are my plugins? Why do I have to fix everything when I'm live? I bet it's not even gonna let me install the plugins while I'm streaming, so I feel like I am gonna have to restart, but I'll try to do what I can. New model looks great, ha ha ha! Shut the fuck up, Moose! Got the notification thinking you were using the new model. Yeah, I really wanted to, but unfortunately I did not quite have time to get it how I wanted before today. Sorry it's so quiet. I'm Fixing things live on stream. Let's see what happens. Let's see if plugins will install. What's up, Raz? Everyone talking about the bottom. All right. But yeah, all of my OBS plugins got cleared, so I'm trying to re-download them right now, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I truly don't know what's gonna happen. It might crash everything, to be honest. There's only one way to find out. Fuck. No! I think it probably cleared. I think I'm gonna die. Hold on. I think I need to... Hold on, I'll be right back. I'm sorry, I'll be back. Test. Okay, I think maybe I fixed it. Okay, hopefully there's game audio now. You literally came into stream and audio ended. Oh, fuck! Because I restarted stream, it restarted the first in chat today, too. Congrats for getting the second first in chat of the day. But hopefully everything's fixed. Hopefully there's game audio now. Cheater! You... I actually don't even know what to say. Fuck you, Taco! Fuck you. Whoa! That dude's trying to explode me, so my controller is vibrating. Okay, so what do I do now? Because I rescued I took the music people and their spirits now, or whatever. So, like, what? There's still no game audio? It says there is. I mean, there's not really a whole lot. Hold on, I'll shut up. I'll shut up. Fuck! It's like showing up as like being there, but it's not very quiet, so you can't hear like the menus either. I mean, what did I just say? I literally don't know what to do if you can't hear that. It is like showing up for me. Oh no. No. The weird thing is that, like, it changed, like, whenever I reinstalled, it's, like, different. Maybe I installed a different plugin, to be honest. Thank you so much, Twin, for the Prime sub! I really appreciate it! Thank you so much! 8 months, that's crazy! I can't believe that that's closer to a year than not being a year. That's crazy. It doesn't feel like it's that I've been streaming that long. Make it 69 months. How do I fix my audio? What do I do? I bet I installed the wrong one. But even then, I would think that it should work. Oh my goodness, what do I do? Is it this one? Is this what I think it's what I just downloaded. Why is it not working? What do I do, you guys? I guess I will have to add, oh my god. I can't believe the scuff is like this. Okay, I guess what we're gonna have to do. Oh god, oh god. I guess I will just, because I don't know what else to do. I think it would be really uncomfortable if there is no sound at all. So I will have to add back my desktop sound. Let's see if this works. What? So scuffed. I think it looks like this will work. How do I, oh my god. How do I, oh my freaking goodness. Ah! Why? How do, it's not letting me add, oh there it is, okay. Okay, maybe this works now. Okay, it's like kind of quiet. I mean, I don't know if that's how it normally is or not, but hopefully you guys can hear it now. But every alert that goes off is going to go off twice. Okay, so now, now that we've gotten that out of the way, what the heck am I doing in this game? I don't even remember how to do anything. Okay, nothing is circled. What do I do? Yeah! I don't have the pirate command set up yet, though. Thank you so much, Joseph, for the resub! Thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Double alert. Yeah, did no! I don't know what the glasses are gonna look like on my new bottle. But thank you so much, Joseph, for the resub. I really appreciate it. What the heck am I doing? What do I do? What am I supposed to do in this game? Am I gonna have to pull up the VOD and see what I was doing the last time I played? Oh god. The yeehaw and the cool at the same time. I guess I need my sail if I'm gonna sail. Alright. I also need the wind to be going in a direction that makes sense, but what do I do? If no one is able to tell me, I'm gonna have to look at the VOD. Because I finished the cave! So what am I supposed to do now? What do I do? This is just gonna be 4 hours of me sailing in a circle. I need help. I can't play games by myself. You're supposed to play video games, and Taco has no idea. You guys are not helpful. Watch the VOD. Okay, but the thing is, I honestly don't think the VOD's gonna help me either. If I'm being real, because I bet it ends with just me exiting the cave. Let's all watch the VOD together. It's gonna be, oh no, streamer watching this stream. No, but for my year anniversary of streaming in like August, I probably will do that thing that a lot of people like to do where on their year anniversary they like rewatch their first stream. It's gonna be so cringe, it's unreal. Or maybe I'll even make a compilation of like the cringiest parts of my first several streams and watch them on stream. It would be so hard to watch. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm clicking through the VOD. But I'm just in the cave! It's gonna end with me exiting the cave! This is me fighting the boss. Something about Ganon. You must search for all of the Triforce shards so that we can head back to Hyrule without delay. What does that mean? Where are the Triforce shards? And then I cut some grass for 5 minutes. And then I ended stream. What? Where are the... Oh no! Where? What? That's not helpful at all! What game did you stream first? Well, the first game I ever streamed, you'll see what it is, because most of you were not here for it. But the second game, it was just that one stream that I did, because it was a really, really short game. It only took like an hour to beat it. But the second game I ever streamed was Paper Mario 1000 Year Door, and my second stream was also incredibly cringe. And I played that for so long. Many months. Where do I go? Where should I go? I don't even... If I wanted to go back to Hyrule, I don't even know where that is. Triforce shards. Have I gotten any of them? Oh my gosh. This is gonna be horrible. This makes me want to not play this. I'm like, what do I do? I have not had enough caffeine to deal with this today. Forest Haven. Oh my god. Bring back Gooby Goo memes. What if we just played the 1000 Year Door today? Literally, what am I supposed to do? I don't even remember how I get to the place where Princess Zelda is. Like, I don't know where we left her. I think you should look up a plate. I might have to. But I don't know how to read. Ah! Whoa. what just happened? Oh, it got mad at you for the links. I could have sorry about the timeout. I could have permitted you if I had known it was gonna be a link, but for spam reasons, links are unless they're Twitch clip links, they're not whitelisted. All right, let's see. Legend of Zelda. Wind Waker. Walkthrough. I think looking at a walkthrough is going to make me more confused, to be honest. You're trying to rickroll me! That's not very nice. Alright. Pearls. Hero's bow. I've done that. Solve the okay. Blah, blah, blah. I did all this. I have boots. Okay. Triforce Shard 1. How are you supposed to know? Are you just supposed to, like, explore around? Because I found where I'm supposed to go, but how the heck would I have known that if I didn't look up a walkthrough? Was I just supposed to be smart? Okay, it's telling me coordinates, but I don't remember how to, what? Finding the Triforce chart inside? Oh, God. This sounds confusing. Hey, want to stop left? Thank you. Okay. So I think I'm going to B5. Okay, I think I have to get a map and then I have to go find the actual thing. So we're going to B5 and then B4. A1 is top left. So, 2, 4 here, I guess? Okay, where are we now? Okay, we're going southwest. I assume that the letters are on the horizontal axis. We'll see. Alright, that's where I'm gonna go. We'll see if it's right. I need to wind. I need to wake the wind. If you have a clip, it should be fine. I'm a little suspicious. About what you're trying to post. But if it's a Twitch clip, they're automatically whitelisted. Alright, let's see. Yes! Sauce command! You clipped that, I see. Wait, am I even going the right direction? Alright, I am! It might take us 10 years. Okay, that's actually gonna make me incredibly motion sick. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why I thought that was a good idea. I really wish I had a monster. I'm like really craving the delicious carbonated blueness. Even though Blue Monster is not actually blue colored. But it does taste of blue. Why do I keep moving the camera? Why does it take so freaking long to get anywhere in this game? This is painful. We've been going for so long and I'm not even halfway there. Why? Just learn the speedrunning strat. Wait! Oh my fucking shit. You know what I just remembered? You know what that made me think of, Sloth? I have a teleportation thing. I have... Oh my god, why did no one remind me? I have the Ballad of the Gales! Down, right, left, up. Stop. No, back, go back. Down, right, left, up. Down, down, right, left, up. flavored Red Bull is colored accurate, so blue Red Bull is actually blue? Oh my fuck, and there's one that's gonna take me right to where I need to go too. Why did no one remind me about this? Is yellow Red Bull yellow? That actually frightens me to think of. Because most of them are like brown. I'd be scared if it were like truly more yellow than it were like tan brown. Alright. I guess. Oh, that's not. Oh, okay. Well, we're going. Blue is definitely blue. I think there's like red, like pomegranate ones. Are they red? You will just sit here and drink clear water. Damn, if only it were a delicious Monster Energy. Hashtag not sponsored. That's the wrong button. I tried to sip it. I don't know if this is where we're supposed to be or not. This looks okay. There is a boat crashed here. I feel like I'm gonna get murdered here. Well, that boat is not crashed, I guess. Small comforts. Ow! Alright, I feel uneasy in this place. No, not speak! Hop on! No! I know! 8! Try 4 shards, there's 8?! I assumed that there would only be 3! 8? Okay, this game is gonna take years of my life to finish. I swear, I'm never gonna finish this game. I'm gonna be playing this game for the rest of my entire career. Literally where? I don't even know if this is where I'm supposed to be. There's so many things on B4! What? No! Why didn't you remember? You're playing the game. It's not our fault. It is! It's you guys' responsibility to tell me what the heck I'm doing in games. Do you not know that? You signed up. Seaside, you signed up for that responsibility when you became a regular. I'm sorry you did not read the Annika contract, but it was definitely in there in the fine print. It's pretty clear that you did not read the full contract. It's kind of both sides. What do you mean? What does that mean? Lonk, please. Pick. Yes. You're doing your best, buddy. Yeah! Okay, well, I did not mean to throw that one into the ocean, but it is what it is. Okay, there is something that I can perhaps, grapple onto. We'll see. Lonk, get on there! No! Lonk is useless, I swear. Oh, both my fault and your fault. Okay, yes. That's fair. As long as it's not all my fault, I'll accept that. Shit! Okay, well maybe if... Wait, can I grapple from the boat? I don't know if I can or not. I have no idea if this is where I'm supposed to be or not. Wait, what's that one button that I can use to like... Oh, it is the R button. Okay. Alright. Can we navigate this? This is not going too well. Alright, come on. You can do it. Alright. Just gotta get through. I wish I'm not changing the wind direction just to get around this corner. I'm not gonna do it! Ah! Alright. Okay, I don't think this is gonna help me anyway, actually. Now that I've properly arrived. Okay, fuck! And I can't do it. No! Okay. I feel like this is not where I'm supposed to be. I think I fucked up. I really thought there was only gonna be like 3! 8's a lot! 8 is a lot bigger than 3 is. If you didn't know. I don't even know if this is where I'm supposed to be. Who knows where you're supposed to be? IGN comm knows where I'm supposed to be. Islet of Steel? I don't think I'm in the right place. Wait. Fuck. Did I go to 4 or 5? Shit! I think I have to go one more down. Ah! Alright, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Alright, we're going more south. We can do this! We can do this! I never said I was a real gamer! I'm the dumbest gamer that I know! And that has never been disputed. Alright, we have to go one more block south. One more, and then maybe we'll find a map or something. No one would tell me! I wasted like 5-10 minutes when I started stream, after all of my technical difficulties, trying to remember what I was supposed to do, and no one could tell me! The thing I'm reading says to go to B4. I saw what the thing I said that I have to get a chart on B5, but the actual shard is on B4. Or something. Yes, I think I am. I didn't know that because I started the game and I'd already done the thing with the music players and I had no idea what I was supposed to do next. Okay, we're almost there, Have fun. I had no idea there were 8. Wait, chart is B4. Oh no. Mine is saying the opposite. Triforce Shard 1 is found by traveling to the Islet of Steel and finding the Triforce chart inside. And it says the Islet of Steel is B5. I'm too poor to pay him rupees! Small Iron Fortress. I'm just gonna keep going straight. Oh, just under 2,000. Oh, okay. Well, perhaps most of them. Wait, how close am I? Okay, I don't know where I am. Well, there's a fish. Do I have bait? I literally do not remember how to play this game. Okay. Yeah, because I haven't been down here, so let's see. Alright. Don't fuck it up. Aim perfectly. Oh wait, that's not a fish. I'm fucking dumb. Okay. Don't worry about it. Just don't. It's fine. Sometimes I'm dumb. Fuck! I thought I was gonna be right on it. Yeah, sail and pray it's the right one. That's my only option! Because I had the menu open, I don't know exactly where the actual spot was. Okay, it doesn't matter! It doesn't matter! I'm giving up! It's not a fish, so I don't care. Alright. Fuck. There's so many things, but I don't know which one to go towards! I fucking hate this game. Go to all of them? No! This game, it was so fun in the beginning, but now I don't want to play it anymore, to be honest. You know, I don't remember Lonk ever getting a boating license. Don't let them know! Don't let the authorities know! Why are there so many treasures? Hiya! Alright, I think this one is perfectly aimed. Alright, maybe not. Alright. Perhaps, I'm a failure, but... Yeah! Oh, fuck, I think I overshot that one, too. HD version kept out a lot of bullshit. Yeah, I sure wish I had decided to do that one instead. I keep doing it to myself. I play the original instead of the remastered, and it's always a mistake. I don't know why I keep doing that. Have I been... No, okay, I can feed the fish. Let's do it! This time it's actually a fish. Yeah! Chart and information about this island? Yes! Oh shit, this is just one of those like treasure island things. Huge fairy who lived to the south of here in the forest on Outset Island, but now all that's left is the ruins of the fairy fountain where she lived. It's sort of sad, but to tell you the truth, I hear there still is a fairy there. She's still alive and kicking down there. Alright, well, whatever. Alright! No! Why? The wind thing is so annoying! I'm kind of stubborn. I don't want to change my wind direction just to go in here. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. Momentum! Inertia! Wait, I don't remember how to do this. What do I even do? Do I like destroy all the... I don't remember how this works. Do I have to like... Yeah, I think that's what I have to do, right? Okay, that was poorly aimed. Oh, what? I got both of them in one shot there. All right. Ah! Fuck! That's not the right button, clearly. No! We're moving up and down so much, please! No! Okay, well, I got one of them. I got one of them. I got one of them. What? Aha! I don't even remember what I get for, like, doing these, but I'm already here, so I feel like I should do it. Oh! Look at that! Perfect aim! Ah! Sorry, I gotta pop up. Fuck! Stop! With the bait! No! Lonk? I need you to get yourself together, buddy. Alright. Was that all of them? Oh yeah! Let's see what's in the treasure. What game should I play next? What if I just give up on Zelda forever because I'm too dumb for it? It's always an option. How do I even get up there? I think I have to go to the edge. Yeah, it could just be rupees, I guess. I think I gotta go to the edge. Ah! No! Stop! No! Ah! I could not remember how to fucking get out. Toxic! Play something for more of your mental capacity like Elmo's Letter Adventure. That's a pretty good idea. That sounds pretty fun. Maybe I'll give it a shot. I don't know. It sounds kind of hard though. Might be a little too hard for me. Yeehaw! Bombs! Alright, please don't fall off, Link. Pokemon! Who do you take me for? These are the skulls of my enemies. I feel like I might be stupid actually. I just now thought about this. How do I fly? I don't really play Pokemon. Pokemon isn't super for me, to be honest. Alright. This looks like maybe the highest spot. Okay. I bet I'm gonna fuck up. We'll see. Yep. Oh, shit! I forgot to fucking change the wind direction. No, I always forget! No! Why? I always forget the wind direction affects your leafing. Long? Okay. I think actually I think I bought Unpacking when it was on sale a couple weeks. Fuck! Sorry, I thought I was gonna fall off. Cause I really wanted to play that. I think I maybe got it when that was on sale, and that I can I think beat in like one stream. What was I doing? I need to change the wind direction. Not one direction, wind direction. Yeah, I think it's like 4 hours. Yeah, I'll have to check all of the game suggestions and the list that I have also made of what I want to do. All right, let's see. I did also promise Kiwi that I would go back and finish the Pit of Trials in Mario at some point, so we can also do that. Hiya! Oh fuck! But I don't have enough magic. No! I was so close. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? I was so close. Simply breathe underwater. Oh shit! No! Oh my fuck! Today is not the day of epic gamer skills. Today is a day of very cringe gamer skills. Simply be a gamer. No one ever taught me how. I think it's too late to learn. Maybe the new model will give me better gamer skills. Ah! Oh god. That was scary. Okay, hopefully this barrel has some It's not being mean. I'm looking forward to seeing the new model. Yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait to show it to everyone. So hopefully on Tuesday night, hopefully it will be ready enough to use. It won't be like fully done to like everything I want to do with it for a long time, but I'm just gonna like keep working on it like for a long time. But I really want to start streaming with it. So where the fuck am I gonna get more wind power? What am I supposed to do about the fact that I don't have any magic power right now? New model, better memory, maybe memory is stored in the legs. So that's why I can't remember anything. Maybe memory is stored in the legs. New model does not fix skill issue. I don't know! A lot's gonna happen when I have legs. I think it'll bring me many powers never before seen. Okay, but what the fuck do I need to do about the fact that I don't have enough magic to get over there? Like, do I just have to give up? I don't know where to go for more This is hopeless. Come back here later. It's just so sad. It was so close. I wonder if... Okay, I don't think this is gonna work either. But maybe doing it in 2 chunks instead of 1. Nope. Alright, I tried. Okay. So I need to go back to B4. Am I on B5 right now? Oh god, no, I ended up on B6. Okay, I went too far. Okay, I need to go more north. Okay. I will get back to my boat and we will go north. Alright, stop choking, Link. Simply grow gills. It's not that hard. No! Hop in the boat! I don't want to talk! Ah! I can't believe there's 8 though. Oh my gosh. Okay. Alright. We gotta go north. North. That's not what... Alright. Oh, what a dream it would be to not have to play that frickin' song every time! Alright. Yes. True, sail. I know! I wish I was playing the HD version, but I'm stupid! I'm dumb. Alright, will I get the treasure this time? Probably not, but I'll do my best. Yeah! I think maybe I got it this time. Ha! We love you because you're stupid. Aww! So sweet. Alright, what's in the treasure chest? A purple rupee. That's just great. Alright. Onwards and upwards we go. Hopefully I'll see a fish or an important island. I don't know what that thing to the left is. There's so many things that I could go towards. I don't know which one I should try. Turn down my having to turn down the emulation quality so that I could like so that my computer wouldn't crash. It makes it more realistic when I'm sailing because I actually like can't see anything at a distance. It's just like I'm really sailing. Whoa, what the fuck is that? Why is there something glowing on there? It looks like it's on fire. Is it? Is that a fire? What the heck is this? Flames! I think it is a what the heck? Alright. Let's see what's going on here. Alright, get out. Stop. Get out. Climb on up there, Lonk. No! Not the burb! Alright, this grass needs to give me some freaking magic! Okay. My magic arrows will save the day. How do I... Fuck. Heck. Shit. How do I change their flavor? No! Ha. What? How do I change? What the heck? What? How do I change it to ice? Am I dumb? Press R to switch between ice and... I swear I was! Do I have to be aiming it? What? It's not switching! Am I stupid? Is my R button broken? I don't think it is! I was using it to cruise earlier, right? Why is it not working? Oh my... I don't have magic! Oh my god, you can't use the magic arrows when you don't have magic! Oh! I hate this game! Just give me some frickin' magic! Aha! Alright, hopefully now. Now that I've wasted like 100 billion arrows. Okay. Hiya! What? What? That didn't work? I personally feel like I was smart. Why is it not working? Maybe I need to like put water on it or something. I guess I have an empty bottle. Plunge into the depths of the ocean! You need to flip a switch on this island! Sorry my methods weren't good enough for you. Whoa! Sorry you don't believe in my power to, ice everything to safety. Alright, maybe... Whoa! What the heck? I didn't expect it to be so big in here. To the living, light the 6 torches and dive down to the sea floor. Guide the lost spirit of the boat that forever wanders in darkness. I have no idea if this is a side quest or not, but whatever. We're in here now, so we're doing it. Okay, maybe I should leave some of these in case I need magic later. Okay. Because I might need to use my arrows for this. Hiya! Where next? Wait, where next for real? Do I like... Well, let's go back up first. I haven't looked at the whole island. I was obsessed with trying to get that chest. Maybe there's other holes. No mail! Ah! Alright, it's fine. No! Okay, fuck. We have this giant tower, but I can't see up it. What is this line at the bottom? Perhaps if I were smarter, this would mean something to me. Alright. Are you one of the... Fuck. Yeah, I need the magic water for this, yeah. Damn. Alright, well... Let me still try my, my water on the chest. And it's not gonna work, but... I feel like it was a good idea and it should have worked. I'm leaving this island forever. I hate this island. Fuck this place. I'm out of here. Hiya! I've already... No, I have not talked to Mr. Fish. but surely I am filling out my map. Yeah! Give me my map! That fish sure can paint. What the heck is that shape? You've seen the boats sailing around here with a real huge cannon, right? I bet you those things have their holes packed with treasure. Of course, if you don't have a cannon yourself, there's no way you'll ever sink one of them. Thank you so much for the follow, Black Ghost! Alright, goodbye, Mr. Fish. Shit, I keep getting more and more away from where I need to be. Okay, B4! We're going to B4. We're going to B4. Where's my sail? I keep losing it. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I wish I could have more than, like, 3 things equipped, because I have to change them out, like, constantly. Maybe that place I'm headed towards right now is the place to be. Maybe. I have no idea. We'll see. Or perhaps it's that place I was earlier that I don't think was where I was supposed to be and had to leave. There's so much sailing in this game. Traumatizing. A couple people told me that I should play Breath of the Wild, and if I played that immediately after the original Wind Waker, it would be so weird because of how different it would be. Okay, we're back in this sector now. Is that where I was before? Was I on? Wait. Fuck! Wait, am I supposed to be on B4 or B5? Shit. I think that actually might be the place I was before. Fuck! I don't know if I've been here or not! I really think this might be the place I was before. Oh no. It is! Alright, let's turn the wind back south. This game is going to traumatize me. Not as rigid, very sandboxy. Perhaps one day. I definitely will not play Zelda right after this, so I guess I can play Pikmin. Isn't there a third Pikmin? But I didn't want to play it immediately after Pikmin 2. Pikmin is always fun. This game has so much sailing. Why? Why? I think this game was invented specifically to spite me. Okay, this is a treasure. Alright. My aim will be perfect. Hiya! Alright, I might have actually overshot it just a little bit, I'm not sure. No! Okay, maybe if I... No. Maybe just turning a little bit. Aha! Perfect. Money! Alright. Is this still the direction I want to go? Wait, is there where I need to go? There's a fish over there. Wait, is that where I just was? Sailing is so confusing. I'm too stupid for this. to be in a... Oh, I'm never gonna get where I need to be! I don't know if I can do 4 hours of this game today. I don't think it's in the cards. I think I will perish before then. Alright, Mr. Fish. I have some food for you. I hope you like my peace offering. Give me information! Give it to me now! Hydrate! Bet! I have no idea what that's referencing, Raz. I'm sorry. This game is super grindy. Yeah, it was so fun in the beginning, but now I kind of just want to die, to be honest. I'll sit up straight for you, Schwinn. Ah! Wait, actually, I need to pop my back. Hold on. Oh my god, my knees almost popped. I don't even know how. Ah! Ah! Okay. Maybe my new model needs a back cracking animation. All right. A circle! Wow. So compelling. It's in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime? I don't think I've ever seen any of you. I mean, I think it was like kind of on TV when I was a kid, but I never like watched any of it. The fabled set of Triumph Forks? What? On that island, you know, a chart showing you where to find them. What? That was one of the weirdest things these fish have told me. Wait, maybe this is the place I need to be. That's not the right button. Please. Maybe this is the place with the map and the stuff. Maybe I need to beat up that door. Fuck! I was so confident in it too. I really thought that's what I was gonna have to do. No! There's a ship blocking it! Oh, you fuckers. Let me in! It'll only cost you your life! Yeah! Wrong button. Shit! 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 Well... Ah! Did the cannon that cannon just hit the bird for me! No! No! What? Every time I accidentally talk to you, it takes 10 years to frickin'... Ah! Ah! Huh! Let's go! We did it! Get in there! Go! Go! Long, please! Please! Long, please! Go! No! Is this fucking thing blocking me? Is my fucking treasure is blocking me? Are you serious right now? Dumbest shit ever! So stupid! Alright, get long, go, get, I assume that this is a door, right? Let me in! Okay, maybe it's not. Oh, maybe I just can't take the boat in. Ah! That was so stressful. Alright. I think this is where I need to be though, so that's good. Alright. Let's play some tunes. I don't know why that was the one I decided to play. I don't think that makes sense. Okay, actually it worked. Splatoons! I've actually never played Splatoon, I don't think. There's gonna be a map in there! chart. You can't read it yourself, so you'll have to get it deciphered somewhere. Well, luckily, I already know where— Whoa, what? What the heck? Did I hit a button? I thought standing on this, like, made my camera do that, but I guess I hit the something. I don't even remember how do you even make the camera do that? How do I even do that? I don't know, it doesn't matter. Okay. Let's blow this popsicle stand. Whoa! Alright. So I think we have to go to Tingle. Because I accidentally saw that on, on the, what does it look like? Oh, okay, I can't even look at it. So many treasure charts. Okay. Alright. Okay, C3, I guess? Can I teleport there? Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I guess I need to be in the boat for that, don't I? Okay, I don't remember how to play this song either. Down, okay. Fuck! I wasn't sure if that was right either. We did it! Alright, I bet I can't even teleport there. Fuck you! Damn it! I feel like that's stupid. I feel like it should have let me do my song from there, but whatever. Fuck. Oh, actually we can. I mean, it's not really that far anyway, but we can teleport there. I am very happy. Is that it? I don't even remember. Whoa! There's fish in the water! They're trying to eat me! Wait, this is definitely not it. What the fuck was I thinking? Am I dumb? Wait, maybe it is. Okay. Yeah, I remember there being like a ladder. I remember him being at the top of a very tall thing. And trying to extort me. Oh, not you. Longing to see you? Decipher it for 400 rupees? I guess. Become readable. Alright. Would it be better if I found all of the charts and then came to him once? Well, I guess maybe I'll do this first one, anyway, and then maybe I'll do that for the rest of them. Okay, Triforce chart 1. What did I just do? No? Yes? Would save you a little time, but do what you wish, okay. Yeah, I guess I don't know how long each of these thingies is gonna take anyway. Am I dumb? Oh, I can't open it anymore. Wait. Fuck, I guess I don't even know if I've been there. But I think the internet, I think it's gonna be before. Okay, can I teleport there? I don't remember. Fuck. Shit! Yeah! Ballad of the Gale! and then immediately close it out because I was mashing? Okay, that's fair. I deserve it. I deserve it. Fuck! No, I just suck. Okay. Oh my freaking goodness! That didn't hurt me at all. Nice. Alright, third time's a charm. Do not talk to him. Just get in, get in, get in. Lonk. What? Okay. Why not the bald pants? I'm very excited though, for not the confetti. No, everything's gonna be broken. No, I'm just stuck like this forever. At least I'm stuck on bald, and I'm not stuck on the combination of long hair and bald. That's so much worse. Oh god. But I'm kind of excited for bald mode on my new model if I get it set up right, because there's a little like animation that'll go with it. Oh god. I don't think I've ever seen the headbands on top of the yeehaw. The headbands on top of the hair, it's so cursed. What was I even doing? I was so distracted. Alright, somewhere around here is a place I need to be. I think. I need a fish. I need a fish. Well, I guess I'll go this direction. Why? Fuck! I get so impatient with the songs. I think it's gonna go, and then it did it. All right. North. Kiwi, what's up? I was talking about you earlier, Kiwi. I was talking about how I still need to do the Pit of Trials for Thousand Year Door that you're always yelling at me to do. Cause I don't know if I can finish this game. It's taking I don't know if I can get all these shards. Have a great rest of the stream. Unfortunately, you're being forced to touch that grass. Anime characters touching grass? No way. Say it ain't so, Raz. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But have a great rest of the day, Raz. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Let it be known that Annika was excited to be born. Don't twist my words. That's not what I said. I didn't say that. It is a lot of shards. Yeah, I thought it was gonna be like 3, and then it's like 8. That's too many. I can't even count that high. I only yell at you for it because I know you can beat it. I don't know. I'm gonna get like stun locked on level 90 again. Not the ball again. You made me fall off the cliff. Why? Why? You could just save all of your bald points for next stream. I'll be cuter. My new bald form is maybe a little bit cuter. I was not excited to be bald. Take it. I didn't know. There's no proof. None. No! Not this. Not this. Why? Oh, fuck. This is another one of those magic water needing things. Fuck! Okay, oh, this is where it was earlier, too. Okay, so this is clearly not the right place. God, this is such a cursed hairstyle. Like, why does it have to look like this? It's so bad. It's so cursed. I hate it. You guys have to enjoy it while it lasts, though, because that will not be happening on my new model. Will the new model have bangs removed as well? No, because I'm gonna set it up in a different way, which is good for me. Probably sad for you guys. At least sad for Rox. I don't know if anyone else will be sad. Maybe Fuzzy. Be angry all you want. See if I care. Okay, where the heck am I going? I need a fish to tell me where I am. A no bangs Megamind Konami. On Subby! There's a lot of whoa! Why is it lighting up? Why is it no longer lighting up? I'm sure I used to know what that meant, but I sure don't know what it means anymore. Ah! Shit! Why does it have the light when it, like, you have a treasure map or something that, like, is that one or something? I don't know. Oh! Oh! I found the I didn't know it was gonna be the Triforce shard. Okay. I found the Triforce shard. Okay, well, I thought that was gonna take a lot longer. Okay. I thought it was gonna be like a whole ass like little dungeon situation. Alright, I didn't know it'd just be like fishing up a freaking shard. Alright, it works for me. Let me open all my treasure charts. Are the Triforce shards edible? Yes. Wait, what is the wait, what is this chart? I don't even know what this is. Wait, what is the incredible chart? Oh, does this show me where— oh, this shows me where all the maps are, doesn't it? Half of them are just scattered within the sea, the other half are little dungeon things. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Okay, I'm assuming that the incredible chart is something that I should look at. So let us go southwest and find the one that's in a ship. To know for sure if Triforce shards are edible would be to eat one and find out. So after stream I'll try to eat one and I will let you know if it is edible or not. Send you a picture of a kiwi? That's pretty good, but that would also scare me. I saw a TikTok of someone talking about a conversation they had with their mom. Like they texted their mom and their mom replied like they were like, so-and-so sent me a like sus picture of you, like why are you sending sus pictures to people? And they were like, I don't send pictures like that, like what are you talking about? And then it was a picture of a rat like taking a shower or something, like a mount. It was so weird, but that's very stressful. That's what that made me think of. It's like basically the same thing. Forbidden cheese. Their mom said it looks just like you. Why is there a pole that says bald? Wait, what are the options here? What are the options? No! Why am I always being bullied? What did I do to deserve this? I'm the nicest, most kind, and not toxic anime woman that I know. So I don't know why you feel that you have to be so mean. I've never been mean in my whole life. I'm always so free of toxicity. You know? So Yeah. So why? I've never bullied you guys. So why am I being bullied, huh? Never in my entire life. Oh, lies! I've never lied in my entire life, and I've never committed a crime. Why are there so many votes? Oh, so you can use channel points to vote. Why is the poll tied? I guess I'm glad that the poll is tied rather than being all in favor of Wait, I'm getting lost. Wait, no, I'm not getting lost. This is where I'm supposed to be, right? I need to find a boat. I'm looking for a boat. Is that a boat? I have no idea if that's a boat or an island. Truly no idea. The closer we get, I feel like it is, That's not what I meant to do. Fuck. Shit. Why is this game so hard? Does the arrow that it's pointing to indicate a more precise position on where it is? Maybe I need to go to the north part. Okay, maybe I should become more north. You see a red boat? The boat that I'm in? Apparently looked 15. They had the face of a cheerleader. You were offended and happy about that comment. I also look young for my age. I mean, look at me. Look at me. My new model, though. My new model. Finally, fuck! Finally, my true self. Am I going where I want? We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Carissa, what's up? What's up? I see we're doing late April Fools with Annika claiming to be calm, relaxing, and not toxic. That's not a lie. I am not cringe. Your new model definitely looks older though. Yeah, I agree. I'm very looking forward to it. Looking forward to sharing it with everyone. Will I get this treasure? I feel like this one looks so big. Is Annika toxic? There's so many options on this one. Yes, yes, maybe, no, and bald. Yes, it's going up! Stop lying on my polls! Okay, the size... If that light was bigger, it did not indicate a better treasure. Where the heck is the boat? Oh. There's some boats over here, but I don't think they're like... Cringe and toxic are not mutually exclusive. Alright, let me prepare my cannons. Do you think I can shoot from this distance? Ideally, I should, Kiwi contributed 24 channel points! No! Why is it winning with so many votes? Cheating! Guess you're toxic? No proof! This poll is a lie. It is not proof. Inaccurate! I think they can shoot from this distance. Okay, let's see if I can. With the power of cringe and pog! Okay, I don't think I can. Okay, I think we're gonna have to, Oh god, a clip! Time to delete my whole channel. No proof will be found on this day. Fuck, wrong button. Fuck! Shit! No! Don't hurt me! What? Do they need 3? Do they need 3 hits to die? Ah! Okay, well, I finally did that one. Okay. Okay. Alright. Slowly but surely. We are making progress. Shit! You may be wondering how my aim is so bad, and I have no answers for you. Ah! Okay, that was a mistake. I did not mean to throw my boomerang like that. Why do they expire so fast? I think it's unfair! Fuck, I can't go that direction. Okay. Okay, but maybe here's the... What did I do? Shit! Ahaha! Alright. Let's go! I think this will have my new map. Ah! Shit! Stop! Fuck! Stop! No! Controls in this game are not for stupid people like me. Please! The power of cringe and pog, yes. Not enough cringe or pog! Take that back! Can cruise with the cannon out? Okay. Maybe... No, I can't say anything to defend myself, to be honest. I can't even pretend like I knew that. I think when Link pulls up treasure, he's making a pog face. All right, let's get this bitch deciphered. Oh god, in my peripheral vision, I just saw another pole pop up. I'm really scared to see what it is. Am I gonna have to demod Doza? I almost said demod Annika. Cringe, pog, both are bald. No, the first mode is for bald. Oh no. What did I do to deserve bullying? I've been so nice and kind my entire life, only to face such hardship streaming. Truly, I don't deserve this. Can I cruise with this thing out? Okay, I don't think I turned around. Okay. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. All right, rotate yourself. Where is my treasure? So if it says it, I can always do it? Is that what you're saying? I'm never going to get this fucking thing. No! Give me my treasure! Alright. Getting this treasure was not in the cards for me today, clearly. Oh, we seem so close! Okay, where am I even going next? Okay, I feel like... Wait, I don't need to look at my phone. I need to look at this. Alright. So many of them, I figure I might as well at least get all of these in a line because it's like pretty straightforward. Let me see if I can teleport to C5. Did I remember the song? Sometimes you can drag the hook into the treasure. Okay. I might try that in the future then. Try to stop slightly short of it. And then, cause once you miss it, you're like fucked. But if I could go a little ahead of it. I don't think these are worth it. I think I'd rather just go east. Okay. There were so many options, but this seemed the most accurate. Kiwi, I'm scared. Gets friend, kills friend. No! I don't even know what this clip is of. Slander, libel, nothing. It's all inaccurate. It's all fake news. None of it's true. I don't know what you're talking about. This is a deep fake. Wait, am I even going the right direction? Oh my gosh. Okay. So I need to go 2 blocks over. I don't even remember what that clip is about. I'm kind of scared. God, it takes so long to get anywhere! Ah! Okay, for Tuesday, what do I need to make sure that I add? I need to make sure that for Tuesday, I add a pirate command and a secret command and what was the other thing I was just thinking of? I want to do the thing that we talked about to do channel points for like not cussing for 5 minutes. But I want to set up like an on-screen timer and stuff for that, which I have not set up yet, so. But hopefully I can do that for Tuesday too. So another clip of your time playing the 1,000-Year Door. You were so quiet. I grew up so fast. Yes, I actually watched. I watched part of my first ever time playing the 1,000-Year Door like last night, and it was so cringe. What? Fuck! It was so weird seeing like the start of the stream. I sounded like so nervous. But I do think it would be really fun to rewatch that for my stream anniversary. Or watch a master edit of all of the cringiest parts. Okay, let's just keep going. That's clearly not working for me. John! 8 months! Yes, that's crazy! Almost a baby! Thank you so much, John, for the resub. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. The pirate command would be just like cool or yeehaw, but it would be like a pirate hat and maybe an eye patch. I think it would be good. I need it. How are you doing, John? Are you streaming right now? Are you still streaming? Get back to stream. Get back to stream or I'll kick your ass. A forehead command? That wouldn't be very nice. Need to save points? You're totally just not gonna ball. But hey, if you wait until Tuesday or next week, it might be on my new model. I'm gonna try to finish rigging enough to be able to use it on Tuesday. So maybe Tuesday you'll see the new and improved bald mode. I don't know where we're going. I know it's in this quadrant, I think, but I don't know exactly where. Incredible charts. Oh, fuck. I overshot it. Shit. No! I need to turn around! Fuck! No! The pirate sound alert? Oh yes, that was so good, but it kept getting muted in my VODs. Maybe I can find an alternative though. That would be such a good combination. Ah, you finished streaming? Yes, go to sleep, John! Go to sleep! What time is it? Like 1 in the morning? I don't remember what the... I think that's maybe something like the time difference, maybe? Yes, 1 a.m. off! Fuck yes, I'm so smart! Go the fuck to sleep, though! It's too early! Yeah, too early for you to be awake right now, because you should be asleep. Okay, that is not what the pirate song was. It was from Pirates of the Caribbean, and like since Disney I kept getting like copyright claimed, like it kept getting muted on all my VODs, but that would be even better. I absolutely want to use the Lazy Town song instead. Holy shit. Lazy Town is so good. Okay, Lazy Town Pyro song. Okay, that's what I want it to be instead. That'd be so good. When do you generally go to sleep? It depends. I used to be so responsible and like always go to sleep by like 10 p.m. But I feel like the past couple months I've not been very responsible. But I used to be a very responsible sleeper. But I definitely do not stay awake past like midnight. That is so late. That's so late for me. My chat isn't scrolling up. Clips are still safe though, not muted there. Really? That's good, I guess. So don't police others. Hey! I'm usually responsible. Hi. Hey, hi, all you responsible sleepers. That's like no one in chat other than me. You want to call shenanigans on that? No, I may seem like a irresponsible gremlin, but I'm not. At least about some things like sleep. I may be irresponsible about some things like caffeine. But other things, I promise I'm responsible about. Shit, fuck! I literally don't know how to do this game. Okay, this chart. Okay, we need to go more west. Okay. Maybe it's on this island. It looks like we're right on it, so maybe it's this coming one that's coming up. What's up, blah blah? How are you doing? All right, what the heck? What the heck is this? What the heck is this? Telescope person. Is this a different one? Oh fuck! I mashed right through the dialogue. My, that battery of mountain guns is a dangerous thing. If only someone could blow the entire lot of them to bits. It is such a shame that they exist, for there is something wonderful hidden there. Whoa! Ominous. Alright, let's see. I don't have any mail. I wish I could pick up one of those crabs so bad. You're great, been toasting the sun all day. Now you're a bit dizzy, but still great. Definitely make sure to drink water and eat food. Don't be dizzy, that's not good. But I'm glad you're having a good day, that's awesome. Yes, go drink water. Alright. Okay. So, do I need to explode this, or do I need to lift it? Maybe I need to lift it. I think I need my... Whoa! I don't need my boots, okay. That's crazy that I can just do that. Like, why am I that strong? Who allowed me to be so strong? Do you mind posting? I can do it, actually. It's probably... Because I think Kiwi might be on mobile. Maybe not, though. Well, that's a clip that Kiwi just posted. It's probably easier for me. Alright. Where are we going? Oh, fuck. Is this where the map is gonna be? Am I in the right place? This seems awfully advanced.
Oh.
What? What the fuck was that sound effect? It sounded like someone saying, oh? I did not like it. Ah! Why are you never facing the right direction? Oh my god. Okay, maybe I should... Fuck. Yeah! Okay, maybe I'll just crash into the others. Okay, or not. Fuck! Sus, capo! Ah! Okay, finally. Hopefully it'll give me a treasure. Well, I guess getting me out of the room that I was stuck in is also good, even if it's not a treasure. Whoa! Okay, so I guess that shows... Okay, thank God! Finally an indication of things I've done! I wonder if there's gonna be a giant boss in here. This kind of just feels like what this room is gonna end up being. I gotta do all these things and then there's gonna be a boss, but maybe it'll just be a treasure in there. We'll see. I don't remember how to... Oh yeah! Let's blow this popsicle stand. Please, lock, please. All right. I still don't have legs. I'm still a table. For one more day, I'm still a table. Wait, why is that one locked? That's weird. Okay, I think that's the door I came in, so I won't go in that one yet. Does that one have a thing over it? Okay, it doesn't, yeah, so I think that's the door I came in through. Eventually that command will matter, yes. Perhaps that's true. Thinking emoji. Wait. I really need... I need to add a thinking pose to my new model. Just suggest thinking pose. Do you think half of your audience is just here listening to you berate them? I have no idea. I don't want to think about it. Table Annika, there. Just wait until my true form. My true leg-having form. I don't know why that scared me. I should have expected the door to open, but... I wonder how good the... Now I'm still thinking about the Pirates of the Caribbean theme. I wonder how good the content recognition on it is. Like, what if it... what if me, like, singing it, like, a cappella was enough to, like, trigger the content aware? A forehead command? What would it? No! Why would I have a forehead command? I think it would be too cursed. We'll see though. Okay, maybe I need to... Okay, maybe I should get my bow and arrow out. I wish I had more than 30 arrows. I feel like I deserve more than 30 arrows. Fringeless? A forehead emote? Okay, maybe. Yeah, it would be like the thinking emoji. It'd be, oh shit, like that. Have I gone in all the doors? I guess I have, other than that one that's locked. Okay, sword, ooh. Fuck, I don't remember how to do this. There we go. Hiya! Hiya! What? Come at me, bro! Come at me! What? He's a coward! Hiya! Alright, and then I got my ass kicked. It's fine. Give me my rupees! What? Alright, I've done one. No! A 5-head instead? Maybe. Gonna head off and be a responsible adult! What? You being a responsible adult? No way! Have a good rest of your stream. Looking forward to seeing Annika tomorrow. Yes! Thank you so much, Combo! I'll see you on Tuesday, hopefully. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Oh, fuck. Oh, Jesus Christ! Holy fuck, why? Why was he full screen? Why was he full screen when it panned back? Jesus. He's trying to jump scare me. Why? My heart rate jumped like 50 billion points. Oh my god. Okay, what door are we even going through? This one? That was so scary. You should go eat yourself. You're sore. Yes, go eat. Restore your energy. Okay, I need to wake the wind once more. Not trying, he sure as hell did just by breathing. Sometimes breathing is scary, okay? Alright, open. Oh god, you clipped it, I'm scared. Now you're going. Okay. You gotta clip the scary Annika things. Okay, I have a chart. Alright. What is next? Triforce chart. No. Yes. Okay. So, let's get 2 more. We'll keep going east and get these 2, and then we'll go to Tingle. Alright. Let's see if I can even make it out of here alive. Whoa! I wonder how many rupees I need for the whole thing. I guess I can try harder to get all of the treasure on my way out. Only get clips like that in this place. Alright, let's... Rocks! Rocks. Meet me under the bleachers after class. I'm gonna kick your fucking ass. Thank you for the bits, Rocks, but Jesus! It's been a couple weeks since I've had to be tortured by that. I also need to add some more sound alerts. I've been so behind on stream improvements since I've been doing a lot of stuff like working on the new model, but maybe I can add some more stuff for Tuesday. We'll see. If you weren't gonna do it, someone else was gonna do it. I guess so. You guys just love torturing me. Wait. Fuck, the wind is going the wrong way. Not bald mode! I'm surprised that no one wants to save their points for the new bald mode. Heartbeat monitor, what about it? Rex, you know I have one, right? I'll put it on right now if you want. Idea a long time ago, like when I play something scary or when like there's a lot of shit going on, I was keeping it on all the time, but I also had an idea that I never implemented, to have a channel point idea to like turn on the heart rate monitor for like, I don't know, like 10, 15, 20 minutes or something, just like during any normal games. But no, yeah, I do have one. I can put it on if you want. But yeah, I got one back in like October because I wanted to do scary games for October. It is it's been interesting. I used it a lot when I was playing Pikmin 2 during yeah, Pikmin 2 had a lot of very scary moments is all I gotta say. Okay, I need to pay closer attention this time to where I am on the... Fuck. Shit. Okay, we still have a while. Okay, but it's towards the beginning of this sector, so I need to not fuck up. Is that a treasure? No, it's a fish. Do I need this fish? Oh my god, I get so confused reading the charts! Okay, no, I do not need this fish. Okay. Keep going straight, I think. Fuck you! We did all the scary stuff, it wouldn't be the same. I don't know, there's always more ways to scare me. Even Link is trying to jump scare me today. So rude of him. Okay, is that gonna be a treasure? Maybe I should go and prepare my grappling hook. Yeah, I don't think it's a fish. Maybe that's a treasure. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, I will not overshoot it. I will not overshoot it. I will not overshoot it. Yeah! Wow! I also want to rig a grimacing face, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I'm just setting a bunch of reminders for myself to remember. If I knew of something rage-inducing coming up, you would say yes. I don't know, I think this whole game is rage-inducing right now. Okay, maybe that's an island. Maybe that's where I'm going. That's straight ahead of me. Due east. I feel like surely that's where it is. Okay. Finished out their drawing took 4 hours. I love seeing your drawings. Did you post it in the Discord server? Heck yeah! I can't wait to see it after stream. How long have I been streaming? Like 2 hours? Okay. What if I get sucked? Oh, please, I don't want to get sucked. Oh, Jesus, fuck! That scared me! Klaxon! Thank you Thank you for the bits for the sound alert, Klaxon. I appreciate it. I don't know if you saw it, but this is probably going to be my last stream with this model. Hopefully for Tuesday, I can finish rigging my new model enough to use it on Tuesday. I'm really, really excited. Random sound alert option for 80 bits? I don't know how I would set that up, but I'll definitely look into that. That would be interesting. That would be fun. That'd be quite a gamble. Wait, I've been here before. I feel like this is not where the place is. How did I overshoot it by this much? Oh my frick. No, this isn't where I need to be. All right, back on the boat we go. Pain. But how are you doing, Klaxon? Thank you so much. 6 months of a lot of fun. Thank you so much for the resub. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Gonna suggest stream avatars, but you're not sure if your PC can handle it. Yeah, I'm not sure either, to be honest. I can look into it though. Wait, I don't, why am I, I need to turn around. I need to turn around. All right. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how many times I've had to do this. I'm going in the correct direction, and then I go way too far, and then I have to backtrack. Pain. Okay, how much? Maybe I'll go a little to the... Yeah, a little more this way, and now we should be heading right towards it. Okay, maybe a little more up, actually. Okay. Now, we're going perfectly, I think. Maybe. I don't know, I'm kind of scared. Please don't get sucked into this. Doing good. Saw the post mentioning your new model. You're excited to see it? Yes, I'm really excited to share with everyone! It'll definitely be a work in progress for several months, but I really want to go ahead and start using it. So no! Shit! Shit! Fuck! Oh no! Oh no! Well, I don't even know what I do. Do I use my bombs or use my arrows? What do I do? I feel like probably I should not use my bombs. Fuck! Shit! Okay, fuck. Maybe I should use my bombs. I don't know! What am I supposed to do? No! Why does he have so many eyes? Okay, good thing I have frickin' like 90 bombs. I'm like missing most of them, but it's fine. Practice makes perfect. Shit, 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 shit. I think I'm fucked. I don't think we're gonna make it. Shit! No! Things are lagging! What's going on? Oh god! Oh god! Oh god! The lag! Oh no! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Maybe we do need a heart rate monitor. I think you're right. Oh my god. Please! Please! I only have one! Oh my god! Finally! Boomerang or arrows? You always found boomerang to work best. Well, I guess I did it with bombs. Look the decimal. Hi, Connery. Hi! Are you, what? From Sayla's chat, right? Right? Am I right? Or am I crazy? My memory is really bad, so it could go either way. But thank you so much for hopping in. I really appreciate it. I do not need my bombs. Oh my god. I feel like I'm hoarse now. Hell yeah! I remembered right. My memory is really bad. We decided that my memory is stored in my legs. So since this model does not have legs, that's why my memory is so bad. Secret lore. All right, will I get this treasure? Haha! Success. I will also need to go get some more water in a bit. I feel like I'm going hoarse. But thank you so much for hopping in today. How are you doing? Worth 100 rupees! Oh, fuck yeah! Remember when all I was doing was just finding endless rupees, but I could not use any of them because I didn't have the space? That was so sad. I keep hitting the wrong button. You always stream so early and us night-dwelling goblinoids miss a bunch of it? Sounds like a personal problem. It's not early in Europe! Wait, what's my song? What? Oh my god. Fuck. I forgot what the wind-making song is! No! Fuck! Jesus, I have not forgotten what it is in so long, but I could not remember. Autica diagnosis skill issue? That's not true. I was actually diagnosed by a doctor with cringe. But thank you so much for popping in, Taylor Lunazuki. I really appreciate it. What is going on outside? There's so many noises. Also, where am I going? East! Very sorry to hear that. Yes, yes. It was quite the day that I was diagnosed with cringe. But I'll be okay. I think I will recover. It's just been hard, you know, trying to accept that I'm cringe. It's really been a difficult battle of self-acceptance, but I think with therapy I'll learn to love myself again. I've already yeah, okay. I've already talked to a fish for this island. All right, wait. I think I only have one more map to get in this line. God, I get so confused on the controls for this. Okay. Yeah, so on that last, okay. Let me go a little bit more. Yeah, okay. Now we'll just keep sailing. And I will try so hard to not overshoot it this time. So hard, I swear. So quiet on the seas right now. I mean, I guess I prefer that to being attacked by giant, like, octopi, but, oh, fuck, there's some treasure over there. Alright, 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 alright. Have I been Okay, I've also talked to a fish here, but there is a treasure that I will try to nab. Is it possible? Do you have to decipher all of the treasure maps to be able to, like, fuck, that's the wrong button. I think I might have undershot it a bit. A great stream, hype for new model, and I'm proud of how far you've come in the past 8 months. Thank you so much, Schwinn. Keep pursuing your true self. Thank you so much, Schwinn. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you on Tuesday. All right, what's in the treasure chest? Knowing that I can cruise with my grappling hook still out truly changes everything, and I don't know why I did not realize sooner that that is something I could do. Okay. Straight east! It's a long way until then. But there was once this VTuber gal who made it where if you donated a specific number of bits, it would activate something on stream? Being make their character jump in game, throw a random grenade to closing the game entirely! Oh my gosh, that would be... sounds like a little bit too much chaos for me. But it would be fun. I don't know what like games I could integrate it with. I did see someone recently, it was my first time seeing it, someone who was playing Stardew Valley that had like some way you could control stuff with like channel points, various things in game, which was really cool. If I ever played Stardew Valley on stream. I feel like I'm going worse. All right, we're almost there. So maybe it is this scary. God, that looks so intimidating. Not sure how they did it. Yeah, that's. I feel like it wouldn't work with like a lot of stuff, but for probably more popular games. Whoa, that one's glowing. Let's get this treasure bread. All right. Fuck. Shit. Fuck! Okay, I think I completely am not close to it at all. Okay, I lied. I am all skill. I literally never thought... Okay, this is gonna sound stupid, but I literally never thought about the fact that my eyebrows are over my hair. I might have to do that on my new model too. I literally never thought about it. I am an anime woman. Yeah, cause my hair on the side also covers up my eyes a little bit on my new model, so I was thinking about having my eyes be kind of over my hair. Holy shit, a silver rupee, 200 rupees! Yeah, laws don't apply to anime women, especially my new anime woman physics. I'm so powerful. I wonder how much money I'll be short for all of my beetle map treasure deciphering now. I've gotten a lot of money recently. Okay, wait, am I still, is this where I need to be? Let's see. I assume it's this island. Hard to tell though. Let me just jump out. Wait, I don't think I, can I? Oh, I can, okay. Link, please, you can do it, buddy. Buddy, you can do it. You can do it, buddy. Just try a little harder. Okay, there we go. Okay, it did not accomplish anything, but I can do it! Is that a fish? Okay, yeah, that is a fish over there. Link never seems to be annoyed by the fact that it's raining. Is he water resistant naturally? Okay, what is this? Why are there bars? God, it reminds me of my time in jail. Do I explode it? I'm honestly not sure. Oh, maybe I could smash it. Fuck. Okay, I can't. Okay, that was... that was a mistake. Please don't explode me. Okay, that also did not work. Okay, this is gonna sound really stupid. But... what if... okay, that... okay, that's not gonna work either. It's like, what if I could, like, connect it with the grappling hook and, like, back up? I'm just gonna try all of my tools. One of them has to work eventually, right? Okay, maybe I'll just grapple to that. See where it takes me. Maybe I need to go up before I can... okay. Crawl! Crawl! Okay, but getting on top of these is so hard for me, because I'm stupid. No, no, no. Aha! Alright, please don't fuck up. Please, 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 please. Grab, 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 grab. Oh my god, you did it! I don't know what good this is gonna do, but... okay. I thought that there would be more up here than there was. Maybe I need to... fly... oh shit! What the hell? Are those all birds? Maybe I need to be a bird. Yep. Do I have any bird bait? Okay. I only have 2. This makes me nervous. Okay, 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 okay. It's bird time! I think I need to be a bird. Huh. Okay, I don't remember how to be good at being a bird, to be honest. Okay, this bird needs to— fuck you! No! Fuck! I only have 2 pairs! Okay, but there was something on that first nest. Hydrate, but does I'm out of water! I'm gonna have to go get some more water! To reach Thorned Fairy Isle, head north from here. I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do here. Okay, I need a posture check! Alright, I'm gonna go grab some more water, so I will take a quick break and run a commercial to disable pre-rolls, and I will come back with lots of water. Infinite water! Okay, not infinite water. But, oh my god, I feel like I'm going course, but I will be right back! What? A 5-minute break?! I really want to watch that clip, but I was trying to pull it up on my phone and it wasn't working. But I can't wait to see that after stream. But I saw what saw what you were seeing. Saw what you were saying, Kiwi, about the new job offers, and I completely relate. Like I've stuck with really bad jobs in the past that I really was not happy at and was not like making very much money at because it was so scary to like get a new job. But like the job I have now, I'm so glad that I have. Like it was really scary to like make the decision to leave because you never know exactly how it's gonna be. But definitely in my case, the last time that happened to me, I am infinitely happier with my new job. So definitely, if you think it is gonna be better, even though it's scary, you gotta face your fears, because that's a big increase. Congrats on the job offers and everything, and I hope everything works out. But I definitely know what you mean. It is really scary. And what's up, Mini Beach? 2 hours, yeah. Okay, what were we doing? Oh right, I have to be a bird. I think I'm gonna fuck this up again, and then I'm going to need to, and then I'm gonna have to start over. I'm gonna have to go find a fucking boat. So I'm gonna fuck this up. Okay. Fly higher, little buddy. No, higher! Shit! Ah! Okay. Ah! Oh! Holy shit! Klaxon! Gifted! Shit! Oh no, I didn't mean to hit that button! Fuck! I was trying to pause and I didn't know it unburned me! But holy shit, Klaxon, thank you so much for gifting 5 gift subs! You're insane! Thank you so much! Congrats to, Yahaza, blah blah, Sloth, Copta, and Seaside. Thank you so much! That's really sweet of you! I did not mean to unburn myself! I'm paying for that! I'm paying for this! Oh, now I have to go get more bait! But thank you so much, Klaxon. I really, really appreciate it. That's really sweet of you. Okay, now I have to go. I have to go find where Beetle will be. Oh, suffering! That is so sad. Honestly, though, I'm sure I would have fucked it up anyway. I still would have needed to go get more. How many slots do I have? I wish the seagull bait would stack. I think it sucks that it doesn't. Okay, but I can still get 4. Hopefully that's enough. Where's my boat? You saw the blush on the model? Yeah, and I'll have that on my other model too. Have it automatically blush with like subs and stuff. Once I get that all set up. I still feel like I'm going hoarse. Oh my gosh. I'm not able to stream for just 1 week, and my voice can't handle it. Okay, what direction am I going? I can go either south, west, or northwest. It doesn't really matter. I guess we'll go northwest though. Oh, I missed Kiwi's message before that too. Why did my chat not scroll like up? Oh yeah, it'll be harder for your coworkers. Yeah, a big part of. Yeah, no, I definitely get that too. But yeah, that's. I don't know. A lot of times, that's like the management's fault. Like a lot of times it's because people don't hire enough people because they don't want to like pay money to have enough employees to actually like do everything. And I also had that issue with my last job, but like I don't know. Some of my coworkers, after leaving my last job, some of my coworkers were like, if you're not gonna be here, I think I also might leave. And they also got better jobs. So I mean, it could also end up better for them in the long run, but you do have to like think about yourself and your own future. But I know it's hard. I'm gonna be hoarse by the end of the day. I haven't even screamed that much. I don't know why my voice is struggling so much. Okay. You sound hoarse now? Yes, I know! My voice is going out! It's horrible! this is gonna take forever. And it doesn't show us where in the quadrant he is. Actually, maybe that's him. It's really hard to see though, I'm not sure. Maybe it is though. 60 hours each week, oh my gosh. Yeah, I got too much. Feel way more comfortable at your new job? Yes. Yes, there's even like, I knew I wasn't happy at my old job, but there is still like a lot. I didn't realize the extent to which I was unhappy until I was at my new job. So like, I don't know. It was so hard and it was so scary to like make the change, but I'm very glad I did, and I like didn't even fully realize how unhappy I was there until I until I actually left. Okay, I think that is Beetle up there, but oh my gosh, I want to get this treasure! Just a lot of her going nowhere because we suck at reading maps. Yes. There was also a lot of scuff at the beginning of the stream and still now because... But between now and the last time I streamed, OBS just like stopped working. Like it wouldn't open, so I had to uninstall it and reinstall it. But I didn't realize that it would clear all of my plugins when it did that. And I had a lot of plugins that were very important. So everything's kind of broken. So all of my sound alerts are going to play twice. And everything is very scuffed, but hopefully I will fix everything for Tuesday. And Mini Beach, I don't know if you heard, but hopefully Tuesday I will start using my new model. All right. Let me on the boat. Yeah. Oh. Give me pears. Yeah. Give me more pears. Pear. 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 Stop yelling at me. Let me buy infinite pears. Your boss pulling up in a new Porsche? Oh my god. A week after telling you he couldn't afford to pay you more? Yes. Yeah, yes. Yes, yes. I've also had bosses that went on like really expensive like international vacations, like in the midst of like treating us like shit, so yeah, I feel you there. Fuck. Okay, I don't have any more space. Okay. Back to where we were. Yep. Look at that skill! I jumped right into that boat. Okay. I don't remember. I don't remember where I'm going back to now. Okay. Okay, so I can either go... Which one do I want to go to first? I guess it really doesn't matter. But I'll have to change the wind direction anyway. So I think I'm a little bit closer at this point to the one that's on the right. So I'll go southeast. Find a ghost ship yet? I don't think so. Ghost ship? I'm not sure. Check the moon to see where the ghost ship will be at. What does that even mean? Have you ever seen a chicken wearing a pair of pants? What? There's so many weird questions going on right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to answer any of these. Check the moon to see where the ghost ship will be? Is that like this thing? How do I... What does that mean? Pull out this part of the thing? What does that mean? The ghost ship? I don't know what that means. The ghost ship. Should be a map that says where the ghost ship will be? I don't know if I have a map for that. It's not gonna be Beetle's chart. And I don't think it's on Tingle's chart, so I have no idea. I don't think I have a map for that. Fuck, I shouldn't have done that. I need to pull up the actual map that I need. Okay, where are we? Okay. Midgemore, okay. Maybe it's that place. That's what happens when you only stream once a week. Well, it's been a while since I was able to stream last because I wasn't able to stream at all last week. Thank you for the lurk, Mini Beach! Yeah, it is so bad trying to like get back to the game when it's been so long since I last played it. But hopefully this week I'm definitely planning on streaming on Tuesday because I want to try to finish the new model for that, and hopefully everything will go back to being at least 2 days a week. Didn't explore enough to find the map. Hey, there's a lot of stuff to do in this game. It's not my fault. Oh fuck. Okay, we're like kind of on it. I assume that it is here then. I've already been here? Oh yeah, wait. This is where I was. Wait, I thought this was the other one. Oh my god. I thought I was at the other one and not this one. That's weird. Okay. Alright. Bird mode activate. The ghost ship chart. Okay, I wonder if I have to reactivate this. I have no idea. Fuck. I suck at being a bird. Fuck. Okay. Shit. Get away from me, get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. Oh, I can fly faster, I guess. Get away from me! No! Ah! No! Okay, how can I kill all of them before I'm a bird? Maybe if I just get my... Okay, that's... This sucks. I think I'm never going to succeed. Good thing you weren't born as a bird, yes. It's a 6th island on the topper of the map. Solve that island's puzzle and you'll find the ghost ship map. Interesting, okay. Being shirtless while making burgers is a bad idea? Yeah, what? I don't recommend that. I hope you're okay though. Damn, what if that actually killed it? I'm not even sure if this is possible, to be honest. Fuck! I feel like that should have hit him. Ah! Okay, is it possible for me to kill the birds before I'm up there? I'm not sure what I should... Because I feel like the birds are just gonna keep attacking me while I'm a bird, and I only have so much bait. very good aiming with the bow and arrow. I have no idea if you're making fun of me or not. I literally have no idea. It could go either way. It could very easily go either way. Yeah, give me my rupee. All right, maybe if I'm up here. Okay, okay. The trajectory of the arrow is not, is not what I thought it would be. Okay. Fuck, but I only have 17 arrows. That makes me quite nervous. Fuck! Oh, it's so hard to be precise! Ayo! Alright, but aiming for that live one is gonna be really hard. They're all alive. I'm at the one that's moving. Fuck, I thought that one would hit for sure. Okay. Alright, I guess I just need to be up on top, okay. You found an old strategy guide of the game? Wacky. Ah! Fuck! This one's gonna be impossible. I'm gonna waste all of my arrows! Fuck. No! This is impossible! I only have 6 left! Remember? I don't even remember what I was fighting, but remember when there was something I had to kill with arrows and we made like a prediction on if I would do it successfully or not, and everyone thought I was gonna fail, but I managed to like kill it on the very last arrow? Or maybe it was bombs, but it was something. It was something like that. This is awful. This is awful! Please give me arrows. This is awful. Oh my god. Give me arrows! How am I ever going to kill this bird? Do you think I can probably just avoid that one? That's... You have a lot of faith in me that I do not have. But we'll see. But yeah, I guess 1 is better than like 5. Just in case, maybe it will give me extra arrows. Oh! I wish I would get an upgrade already to have more arrows. I feel like I deserve more arrows! Why don't they want to give me arrows? Okay. So I'm assuming that I have to hit every single one of the thingies in one... God, why is it so hard? Fuck. Shit. What? Is it already on? Okay, I guess you do only have to do it once. Okay. This is so hard for me. I don't know if it's hard for me or if it's hard for everyone, but I am definitely struggling. Oh, not the scary noises! No! No! Get away from me! Fuck! Ah! Why are there multiple? No, 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 no! Get away, get away, get away, get away! hate this island. This is so hard for someone as dumb as me. Alright, one more attempt. I wonder if they have to go in order or something. Maybe they do. Shit! There's still a bird at that one. Fuck, 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 fuck. Shit! Fuck! Oh, we're so close! We're so close! Please don't hit me! Ah! No! Did I do it? Did I get all of them? Did I do it? Please tell me the thingies. No! I swear I got all of them! I swear I hit all of them. Did I get the one in the middle? Which one did I miss? The one in the middle? Are there 5 or 6? I'm not sure if... Oh, there's one on the other side. Okay, 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 okay. Maybe if I circle very wide, they won't notice me. I think it's that one. Yay! Oh my god, this is my last bait, too. Woo! By golly, we've done it! Bonk, get up there. Go in the hole! Whee! All right. Whoa. Yeah, give me all this money. Fuck. Shit. Please don't expire. No! 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 My money! Top 10 saddest Zelda moments. Yeah, this is like the 4th one that I've done Mini Beach, so don't worry, I know. It's like my 4th shard map or whatever. Why am I so bad at opening chests? I always just run into them first. Always clutch with the resources? I don't know, I did have to go get more bait. Designs that reflect the wind are drawn here. Wow! All right. So now I just have 3 more maps to get. Never mind, you suck! Damn, the toxicity is overwhelming. Oh, is the ghost ship the thing on the side? I didn't even notice that. Oh yeah, that went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that does make sense. I didn't even notice that until literally just now. I didn't know why it was brought up. Okay. I'm gonna I don't even remember where you guys said I needed to go for it, but I'm gonna go west, and I'm gonna get that last one, and then I guess I'm gonna start actually getting the shards. Cause it's on this side! It's not on the actual grid part! Okay, let us go west. Let us go west! The changing wind animation just takes so long. I'm so tired of it. Okay. Let me prepare. I've already forgotten how far. Okay. So, we do have a while. Showed you where it would be at what mood phase? Wacky. But yeah, I haven't gotten the alleged moon map. Ghost ship map. Ah! None of you are ready for my true power when I have legs. Can't believe I'm spontaneously growing legs in 2 days. Wait, I just had a great TikTok idea. What if... Also, what are these things? Can I go in there? What do you have to say? They aren't even gonna try to attack me? Oh, I'm sorry. Goodbye. Hey yo, I got some arrows back though. Oh fuck, I don't want to be here. Ah! Rat bastard! Oh wait, this treasure chest is open. I guess I've already been in here. Rude? How is it rude for someone that attacked me? But yeah, I assume since that chest was open, I've already been in here, so I will just continue onward. But at least I have 20 arrows more. 20 arrows more, 20 more arrows. Oh, I didn't finish what I was saying. If I did a TikTok, okay, this is gonna be very cringe. Well, I've had more cringe ideas, but doing a TikTok, doing a magical girl style transformation of my old model, like morphing into my new model. I think it'd be good. I'd have to, whoa! The lag. I think I want to, explore the idea. Yeah! I might be too far over to the left? No. Perfecto. I wonder how much money I will need for all of Tingle's maps. please. What? That's not the right button. Alright, let us see. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, we're almost there. Maybe I can teleport to the others. Maybe it's not too far out of the way. TikTok, is that still a thing? Yes. But in general, just like as a short form video. But yeah, TikTok is very popular still. I didn't even have a TikTok until a couple months into like me starting like streaming. Why do I keep opening the wrong one? Okay, we're almost like on top of it. Is it that? Is it gonna be like buried? This is super weird. We're like there. Do I have any other treasure charts I can open? I don't think so. What? Look! I keep opening Tingo's chart! That's not what I want! I'm so confused. We're like on it. Do I have to do something? There's like nothing near here, but we're like directly on top of it. 6th most popular social media platform in the world. Wow. Is that a boat? Is it maybe... Wait, or is that where I just came from? No, maybe it is an island. Oh, I'm so confused! But it would make sense if it were like a moving thing, which is why I don't see anything right now. But I truly have no idea. Maybe I should give up. And I can go ahead and go to Tingle, but like, I'm so lost. Like, what the heck? Probably too old to watch anime girls play. So potato. No one is ever too old to be an anime girl. To watch anime girls play Zelda, in my opinion. Wait, how do... I truly get so confused on the controls for this game. I'm about to give up. I don't know. I don't want to deal with this. Let's just go find Tingle. Fuck it. Fuck this shit. I'm out. That's not the right thing. This one? Yahaha! It is. Only quote-unquote social media thing you have is WhatsApp. Yeah, and I feel like that doesn't even count because WhatsApp is really just like texting. At least there's a warp port to Tingle Island, thank God. Let's see how much intel he can give me. How broke he's going to make me. Do all of the maps cost a different amount to decode, or does he charge like a flat rate, or is it like every map, every additional map like costs like extra? Fuck you. Okay, I'm just gonna swim there. It's faster than changing the wind direction. That's fair, that's fair. Alright, Tingle. Give me your trade secrets. No, no playing! Only map translation! Yes! Okay, that's the same cost, so maybe they all cost like about 400 rupees. Is 12/12 the year you were born? No. But... Oh, you weren't even talking to me. I was like, where is this coming from? I didn't realize until you replied almost that that was not at me. I'm so used to people being toxic to me. Okay, looks like they all cost the same amount. Why can't you just do them all at once? Wait, Tingle's confetti looks kind of like mine. What if I can rip the low poly confetti directly from this game to use on my model? You know what they say? Oh god, what do they say? Chat reflects the streamer. I'm trying to mash through this, but I know it's doing absolutely nothing. Tingles doesn't freeze the game, that's true. Okay. So I still have enough money for 2 more. So I'll just need to get like 600 more rupees or something like that. I think that's how many I have left. Okay. Let us see. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4 left. Yeah. My avatar is reacting to the button mashing sounds. Oh wait, like my mouth? Hold on. Wait, what do you mean? Wait, what did you mean? I thought you meant like the mouth was like picking up the I don't know. You swear? I mean, it might have been, but I can't get it to do it anymore. What the fuck am I? Oh, I need to check my charts. Okay. No crying! No sad! No sad allowed here. Okay. Okay. So... Fuck. So much of my map is unexplored. I feel like I don't want to cheat. I want to like... Wait, how zoomed in are the maps on the right? Is it like... That's not it, I don't think. I don't think it'd be that because it doesn't have the extra little islands. Okay, fuck. Okay, let's see what the others are. I feel like none of the shards are going to be in places that I've been to. Oh no. Oh, the suffering truly never ends. There's so much of the ocean that's still unexplored! No! Oh my god, I don't even know where to begin. Okay, this one looks like it might be... here. Yeah, I think this one is here. Yeah. Okay. So in kind of the southwest of this corner. So like F1. Okay. Let's see if I can travel there. With my... Oh, I guess I need to be in my boat. Just wait for when they drain the whole ocean and you have to explore it again? Oh, I sure hope that's a joke. I sure hope that's a joke. That would for sure cause emotional damage. Where the fuck is my boat? Oh my god! I don't know why, but I thought if I talked to Tingle that the boat would like spawn like next to the island. Cause it does that like for some of the like places you travel to. Oh no, please. No, 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 get away! Please get away, oh my god. I can't believing someone who just typed lies, nothing but lies. Don't worry about it. Fuck, okay, I can't travel there, but I can travel here, which is pretty close. And while I'm here, I might as well make a square and explore those other two quadrants. They're not quadrants, whatever they are. Whatever you want to call them. Little areas. Alright, so let's go west first. Wait. That's not even the direction I meant. Wait. Yeah, I need to flip it. Yeah. All right, east. Let's go. All right. So I need to be on the lookout for a fish, a fishy friend to help me in my journey. And or treasure. Are there two treasures or am I going insane? I can't tell. What's economy? That's my last name. Is this a setup for a joke or is that a genuine question? Oh, fuck yeah. First try. Money, 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 money. Oh yeah. What a pleasant surprise. All right, maybe I was imagining that I saw two. It's hard to tell with like how low quality it is. You've never heard it? That's crazy. It's such a common last name. A lot of people always ask me if it's like referencing like so and so, and it's always a character I've never heard of because like there's so many people with that name. What is this? Weird. Wait. Wait. Oh my god. I wish it was easier to turn around. Is there something in there? No, maybe not. I guess I'm crazy. I know it's a common last name in like Japan. I don't know if other places like use it as well. A reference to Monica Kaname from the hit series Monica Magica. Perhaps, knows I perhaps. That's my favorite Kaname. I know I'm in the wrong place, because I'm trying to explore these sectors of the map for later. I'm just making since my map is like, I'm missing these two, I'm coming here first, because I need to go up there. But on my way there, I'm just taking a detour to explore this part of the map. Fuck. Exactly, must explore. I'm making up for lost time. Wait, what direction? Yeah, okay. I need to go this way. Maybe there will be a fish. That's a fish! Perfect. Weird. Okay, before I talk to the fish. You're from Central Europe, so you don't know a lot about Japanese last names. Knowing that you're from Europe, I will be able to yell at you when I yell at all of the other Europeans for watching my streams when they should be asleep. Birdman contest? Sign encounter? If you think you were born to fly, then take the challenge of the sky to win fame and prizes. What? Alright, I'm gonna try to be a birdman. Greetings, O person who has surely come to take the challenge of the big sky. This is where you can register for the official Rito Tribe Birdman contest. You're free to use any means, methods, or tools you have at your disposal to help you soar through the sky. The rules are simple. See how far you can fly before you crash into the roiling seas like so much dead weight driftwood. Okay. A banner stands now at the site where the great and talented champion, who has flown the furthest to date, crashed into the frothy waves in a massive splash of glory. If you're able to pass that flag, then you will be the new champion. 10 rupees. Yes! Okay. I wish I could be a bird. Fuck! Okay, never mind. I thought he was gonna say I couldn't join. You see that banner far off in the distance? That marks the record distance set by our great and talented champion. You must pass that banner. Okay, wait. Where the fuck am I? That? I guess that. Hopefully it brings me back when I'm done. I feel like this is going to end really poorly for me. I wish I had more seagull bait left, but I guess I'm just gonna have to use my leaf. Okay, so now the wind is going this direction, right? Yes, okay. It's leaf time. Hopefully my magic is full. My magic is full. I really just don't feel very confident about this, but you never know until you try. Whoa, the music started immediately. Okay, we're fucked. We're fucked. It's not going well. No! Oh, wait, do I intentionally get in these? Wait, fuck! No, I'm supposed to get in those, right? I was avoiding them. I just realized I think I was supposed to get in them. Fuck! Hopefully I can try again. 89 yards! Wow. Alright. Okay, take me back. I want to try again. Hairstyle down. I think my new hair down is like way cuter than this. I don't know what it is about it now that I just don't like, but I think the hair down on my new model is way cuter. You don't have enough magic needed to do this? Really? Okay, let me... Well, especially not now that I just used all of it. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, well, I'm just gonna give up for now. Alright. There's a fish somewhere. Where was it? I think it was maybe on the other side. Let's see. Please turn better. Please. What? There it is. Oh wait, you get a refill when you start it? Really? Cause I just remember there is something I did at some other place where like you had to hit those things cause they like sent you up. So I was thinking maybe, I realized too late that maybe I should have gone into it, but I was too far. Alright, what wisdom do you have for me, Mr. Fish? To the west of here, over on Dragon Roost Island, you'll see all kinds of rocks. Big ones, little ones, you get the picture. Anyway, they say that long ago there used to be a treasure hidden inside those things. There may be some left, so you should open your eyes and take a good look around, from as high up as the sun to as low down as your toes. Alright. Goodbye, Mr. Fish. We are now going north. It does kind of look like a giant ketchup bottle. Okay, but now out of curiosity, I do want to waste 10 more rupees. Impulsive spending for the win. Alright. One more attempt. If it better refill my magic. Okay. Let's go. Yeah, let's go! Okay, yeah. Okay, you're right. It does refill the magic. Okay. This time. Shit. No! Damn. It probably wouldn't have helped that much anyway. Maybe I got a little further. Are you fucking... How? My distance was less! Need the magic upgrade? Yeah. I figured I'd give it one more shot now that I realized I used a brain cell to figure out what the fuck I was supposed to do. I just wanted to give it a second attempt, but now I'm giving up. It really felt like I'd gotten so much further. I don't know what happened. That's so sad. It wasn't even the same. I truly was 1 yard less. That's so sad. I hate when it's quiet at nighttime. Like, please pump up the jams. Two-Eye Reef. I have no idea what that is. We'll get to it when we get to it. Like most of this game. Fish! Fish! And treasure. Fish! Map! Paint that thing on there, Mr. Fish. It's a squiggly island! Triumph Forks again? Oh wait, this is different. It's still about Triumph Forks, but it said different stuff than the last time someone brought up Triumph Forks. Interesting. Okay, fuck, please don't hit me. Fish! What is with the balls today, Doza? I can't with you. Please don't hit me. Please don't hit me! Fuck. I knew that one was gonna hit me right on. Get on the boat! There we go. Okay, nice. Okay, but there was like a treasure or something. I don't know where it is. Saw a treasure though. Shit. Wait. Fuck! Ah! I'm so bad at the controls for this game. Okay. Okay. So I need to go northwest. North. Wait. North. No. Okay, kind of there. Okay, we're getting close. Fuck! I already passed it! Oh my god. It's so hard to tell. The zoom on, like, these maps is so wild. Like, it seems so far away when you're actually right there. I'm literally never going to get to it. Oh my god. Fuck! No! Shit. I'm never going to find this treasure, but we're so close. I feel like I have to. Maybe I should just be calm. I should just cruise instead of using... Yes, okay, yes. This is what I should do. This is what I should do. I'm going to be a responsible young anime woman. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there! Did I get it? Yes! Oh, yeah! What'll it be? Secret cave chart? Find secret caverns? What the heck? Secret cave chart. Whoa! Okay, interesting, interesting. Well, I guess I have not found any secret caves. Otherwise, I assume that it would have marked it properly on the map. That's sad. Okay, so where next? I need to go west. Yes, Triforce chart 7. Yes! West we go! You did, but it doesn't mark it. Oh, that fucking sucks though. So let's say I feel like I have. That sucks it doesn't mark it though. Not gonna explore the island first? What, the one we're next to? I don't know. I'm ready to find my pieces. Fuck, maybe I should have done this in the boat. Perhaps this was a stupid decision. Wait, was I here earlier? I don't even know how I'm gonna get up there. never works how I think it will. Fuck. Do I have any arrows? I do. Fuck, I don't have any magic though. Damn it. Fuck this island, it's dumb! Where's my boat? The hook shot! On what? A tree? I didn't mean to do that. Let me if I back up. Oh. What the heck? What in tarnation? Hydrate? Does I'm out of water again! Actually, wait, I have 2 sips left. Try from the boat? Yeah, perhaps that would make a little more sense. My angle right now is kinda bad, and also I keep getting sucked into the water. Not my smartest decision. It just all seems so far. Oh, maybe that one. I thought this one for sure would work. No! I'm doomed to be stuck down here forever! How much longer do you plan on going? Not more than an hour. Jesus! That was so hard to aim! Ah! Give me magic! Alright, there's a hole. Let's see what's at the top first. Okay, nothing really. Alright. Let's go in the hole. Let's see what's in here. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. Oh, fuck. This is just like that other place. Is this definitely different? Ah! Jesus! I did not expect there to be monsters in there. This game is too scary, truly. Begone, foul beast! What? Get me out of here! Jesus, I did not expect there to be so many. so much going on right now. I was just too lazy to re-equip something that made more sense when I already had the hook shot on. Oh my god, it never ends! I truly cannot explain why I thought it would be easier to do something stupid rather than doing something that makes more sense. I just truly can't explain why in my head it made more sense. Because it never actually makes more sense to do it that way. It is usually much, much worse. And yet here I am still trying to do it. Okay, where's my fucking... I thought it worked at some point, and I thought I was just missing the rest of the time. I thought the first one I did worked. But, yeah. Just, sometimes I'm dumb. Only sometimes, though. We all know that most of the time I'm very, very smart. What? What? Get away from me! No! Get off of me! There's one more. Finally! Let me out! I gotta get some more water. Maybe I can wait until, until I finish this little cave, please. Hopefully the other rooms won't take me quite as long as that one did. Luckily, I know I gotta fucking kill these dudes for good. Or otherwise, they'll just come back. Oh, the spin attack? Okay. Yeah, that would've made sense, wouldn't it? It's not often that I do things that make sense. Okay, I think I just have this one and then the final door. Oh, I fucking hate these things. Thank you so much for the follow, hallucinacry? Is maybe how you say that? Whoa! Bomb plants? I guess if you find this before you unlock bombs is why they have the plants. Fuck. Okay, that's way too much effort for me. I'm just gonna use my actual fucking bombs. Ah! Okay, if I don't get murdered first. Okay, and if I can actually aim worth a damn, which I cannot. Shit! No, they always close right when I throw it. No, get away from me. No. Okay, kill the other people, please, for me. Fuck. No! Oh, probably if you... Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense, actually. If I used all of my bombs, which is very possible. Ah! Please, just go in his mouth! Well, I was trying. I didn't forget about it. I tried doing it at the beginning and it wasn't working. It wasn't throwing it like towards it, so I thought it just didn't work for that. Fuck. I preemptively hit A. No, let me out of here. There's too many of them. Okay, if I could just get behind the bigger dudes. Fuck! There we go. Begone, foul beasts! Okay, where are we going here? We assume. What treasures lie in here? Oh shit. Well, I guess I'm glad I came in here. I did not realize that I needed to come here for a map. Or did I? Magical map! What time is it? Maybe I'll end soon. Maybe I'll do one more thing and then I'll end. Triforce shard! Woo! Kiwi, because instead of a space, it was a period between your first two words, so it thought it was a link. That used to happen to time in the beginning. And it took us so long to figure out, like, why it was doing that. Oh my gosh. Oh, why was I thinking that I needed to go to the... In my head, I was thinking that map in this corner was one square to the left, but I guess not. I'm so confused. Why did I think that? Oh, no, it was because, oh, it's because I was looking for the shard. I knew the shard was to the left. That's why, and I just couldn't remember. Okay. That makes sense now. You were saying all the haircut places are closed today. Yeah, that sucks. Hopefully you can get a haircut soon. Okay, I will definitely get this next piece. I just gotta go to the west. Oh god, I would have been mad if I accidentally went down the hole again. Okay. What if I jumped directly into... Oh, damn it. It would have been so cool if I jumped right into my boat from that height. But of course, I'm not pog enough. Okay. Fuck. Wrong button. Just tired of these bitches throwing cannons at me! Yeah, serves you right. Okay. You cut your own hair today? Did it go well? You guys cut my hair for me every day. Oh wait, my wind's already going in the right direction. I'm just dumb. I don't know how to read a map. All right. Oh, I guess I better open my chart up. Throwing cannons? Hey! Don't worry about my word choice. It is frequently stupid. But that's the Kaname charm, as they say. No one says that. Okay, what chart am I thinking of? This one, right? I think? Yeah, so we need to go to the, like... kind of the, like... a little more south. You say that? Okay, sure. Perhaps now it will become a thing, a very cursed thing. But yeah, maybe after I go get this shard, I'll go ahead and end. My voice is not cooperating today. Your hairstyle isn't as sophisticated. I guess some would call it short. Hey, sometimes my hair is pretty short. Non-existent even. Let me check how far we are. Okay, I'm still not even... Posture check! Those I'm gonna be ending so soon! Why are you wasting your points on being responsible for me? Huh? Huh? Alright. We'll do a little sippy. And oh shit! Oh fuck! Ah! Doza, that would have been all your fault. If I got sucked, that would have been 1000% your fault. This is this, right? Just don't know why I haven't shown up yet. Oh, motherfucker! Why? Why can I not use the hook shot? This thing always comes at the worst fucking time. Why can I not aim right now? I think I might just be stupid. Is this even working? I feel like it was better when I did this with the bomb somehow. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna make it out of this one alive, to be honest. Ah! Oh, with the boomerang or bow, you have to hit everyone 3 times? Okay, that's awful. I'm not... Okay, I'm not sure if it's worth it or not. Fuck, we're like so close! Damn it. I feel like the bombs were kind of better. No! Rip. Rest in peace. Rest in pieces, really. Where are we? We're not really that bad. I used so many of my arrows. Wait. Wait. I just... I was about to say, how are none of these bombs hitting me, to be honest? Maybe I should kill them first. I'm a fan of weighing my options, trying out methods, seeing what works best. I decided that I ultimately did not like the boomerang, but you never know until you try. Okay, we're really close to this treasure. Shit, maybe I should look at my map. It was glowing, so that means I should have a chart for it. Wait, where even are we? Okay, we are here. Was it the shard that we were close to, maybe? It's not even showing us on the map. Oh, maybe we're too far to the west of it. What direction is my wind right now? Let's go! Is it a shard? Is it a shard? What do we think? Yeah! We did it! I only need 6 more! Oh god, the fact that I only got 2 today feels horrible. I feel like I should have way more. You think standard treasures glow anyway? It's just the shards that require a map. Wait! No, but it had the, like... Because, like, normal treasures will, like, glow. Like, you can see where they are, but this one had the, like, the like, beam of light. I'm using my hands as if you guys can see them. But yeah, I think I'll go ahead and end it there. Let me get this last little, oh, not the birds. Please leave me alone. But I'll go ahead and end in a second, so if anyone has, wants to redeem a raid, fuck! Guiding the raid, you can do that, otherwise I will pick someone. Fuck! Stop! Ah! Get away from me, bird! Oh yeah! I wonder if... is that too far? Yeah. Fuck! Alright, I didn't even aim. Whoops. Oh, fuck! For a second I thought I was gonna hit it on the way back. That would have been pretty cool. Give me my money! I will not forget the raid command today. Okay, okay. So let me see who all is online. Wait, I do have the map for this, right? Yeah, for the sector that I'm in? Yeah. Okay. Whoa, so many people are online! Okay. What do you guys want to see? Just chatting. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, that would make sense. Quest 64 or Elden Ring. Or I could number them and we can all pick a number. Ah! Oh god. I'm stretching. I have the worst gaming posture. Whoa! I did not say to play the Wind Waker. This is not a time to wake the wind. Oh shit, I missed some treasure too. Doza says Elden Ring. We have one for Zelda. It would make the most sense. Ah! No! It's neck and neck. Fuck! Link, please. If you could just please aim your freaking boomerang. Pick a number? No, you pick a number! Fuck! Shit! I wasted it completely. Okay, in my head, one is one and the other is 2. So everyone pick between 1 and 2. And no one has any idea if I'm lying because I could be deciding the choice. Since no one knows which one is 1 and 2. But I swear I'm not. I swear it will be what is actually voted for. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. 1 or 2. Okay, we have 1 for 1. 1 for 1. I need 1 more vote at least. Taco and Doza. Fuck! Why would you tie it like this? Okay, hopefully Doza's still here. Doza's got a tie break for us. 1 or 2, Doza. 1 or 2. 1 or 2, Doza. 1 or 2. This is life or death. Life or fucking death. Or anyone else. We need, this is the most important decision we might make all day. I'll go ahead and do the raid messages. Raid 2. One day I'll have a cuter raid 12? Okay, Doza votes 1, okay. 1, it is going to be the person playing Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. Kiki Chesu? I think this might have been someone that Kiwi led us to in the past for playing Wind Waker. So we will, raid them. I'm not sure how far they are in the game, but we will see. I will initiate the raid. I bet I'm gonna spell their name wrong. I did it! I spelled their name right! But thank you all so much for being here, and hopefully on Tuesday, if you guys are able to be around, you will see my new model work in progress. But thank you all